If it's one thing a bullet journal girly loves, it is stationery. So today I want to talk about 5 different stationery goodies that I've got recently, rate them, see if they're good stationery for you guys to be using too. And of course, all the links to all the stuff I'm going to be using in this video is in the description box below, so go check that out if you want to purchase anything. So getting right into it, the first thing I want to talk about is fine liners. I obviously use fine liners every day in my bullet journal as I outline things, and I've definitely tried my full share of different brands, but today I'm going to talk about Ohuhu's fine liners. I was gifted the full set, but I'm just going to test out 3 different sizes for you today, 02, 03, and 05. And just kind of show you the different thicknesses that they have available. Of course, the actual set goes up all the way to super bold and it goes all the way to 005. So it gets a much bigger range, but I just use the 3 different sizes that I use more frequently in my bullet journal. Personally, I really like these pens. I think they are just really chic and simple. The nib is really rounded, which I like on all of the pens because sometimes with fine liners, you find that the end is flat, but on these, they're very rounded. My one drawback with these though is that they aren't really a complete black. If you'll see at the bottom, I kind of did a little scribble section and I compared it to the Sakura Pigma Microns, and I feel like those pens are a little darker, whereas the Ohuhu fine liners are more of like a charcoal gray. It might be hard to tell on camera, but that's just a personal opinion. I do prefer the darker black. However, if you prefer having your bullet journal spreads a little more toned down, getting a fine liner like this might be very helpful because it's not like a completely pure black, but it really is such a dark gray anyway that it's kind of hard to tell. So as a whole, I give it 3 out of 5 stars. So if you know me, you know that I'm not really a watercolor girly. I don't really paint very often in my bullet journal. However, MeiLang was very kind enough to send me a watercolor set, and this is a 48 color watercolor palette with a watercolor brush pen as well, and I'm so excited to try these out for you guys. So each of the paints come in a big set together and they were all covered. So yes, it did take me 14,000 hours to unwrap all of them, but I think the range of colors is super pretty, and I love at the bottom they have an entire row of metallics as well, so there's a lot of variety here. My favorite thing about this set though is the pen that it comes with. I've always wanted one of these. So basically it's a brush pen at the top, but if you unscrew it, there's a little section that you put water in, and then you basically use that to paint with. So you don't need a whole cup of water and a whole swash of paintbrushes to paint with. You really just need this, and it reduces so much mess because all the water is kept in the pen itself, and it's just super easy to work with. So while I'm swatching all these colors here, just trying to see the variety of pigment, trying to figure out how to work the pen. Personally, I found that it doesn't just flow automatically into the brush nib. At the end, you do have to squeeze it to get the water to flow out, but that can be really helpful in controlling how much water you're using, whether you want a really liquidy type of paint or whether you're preferring a more dry brush technique. Additionally, I was very interested in seeing how the paintbrush would pick up the pigments, because if you're doing an entire painting with only one brush, then of course you're not going to use the same color for the entire thing. But I realized that if I just kind of squeezed a little water out and wiped it off on a paper towel a little bit and dipped into another color, then automatically like that next color would be completely saturated. It wouldn't be mixed with the color before. So just using a little water really helps that out. I did try blending the watercolors. It wasn't too successful, but I personally just need practice blending watercolors anyway. I will say, however, it also depends on the amount of water you use, and these paints did dry very fast, so that could make it a little difficult when you're trying to blend. However, I was doing it on bullet journaling paper and not watercolor paper, so that could make a difference. Overall, I really like this paint set, and I would rank it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. If you want to grab one of MeiLang's watercolor sets for yourself, I'll have the link in the description box below, and if you use this code on the screen, you can also get an extra 20% off of your order. However, this code is only valid until April 25th, so make sure you get out there quickly, and again, all information down in the description box below. Thank you so much to MeiLang for sponsoring this video. I have used alphabet stamps before a lot in my bullet journals. This isn't really a new stationery that I'm trying out for you guys, but I don't really use it that often, especially recently. So I did want to just kind of reintroduce you guys to these stamps. Personally, I know a lot of people do like different fonts in their bullet journals and experiment a lot, but really down to my root, I am just a calligraphy girly. So whether I'm using an actual brush pen or if I'm just using a fine liner to do the same calligraphy style that I always use, I feel like all of my headers on my bullet journals are basically the same, just cursive calligraphy. So it's really nice to pull out these stamps every now and then and play around with them. It adds something different to the spreads, and it can kind of differentiate between a heading and a subheading because it's technically a different font if you use the stamps. Also, I think it's just a cool way to add texture to the page because it can overlap on different types of paper, you know, and just add a more different dimension. Overall, it just makes your spreads look cooler and more creative. So it's definitely something that I love using in my bullet journal a lot. I will say, as I'm testing them out right here, I use the lowercase ones like 24/7. I usually never use uppercase letters in my bullet journal. So you can kind of tell that the lowercase ones had a little square around them because they're used more often. So the rubber is more squishy. So when I push down, like the entire stamp can sometimes touch the page, which I honestly really like the look of. However, with the all capital ones, the rubber is a little more firm, so it wouldn't squish so much and it wouldn't make a little square around it. But you know, it honestly, that's more of a user error and I just use them so much that they're squishy like that. But this set has lasted me, I think, like 2 years and it's still going strong. So yeah, I 100% recommend it. I think it's super versatile, super easy, and I love using it in my bullet journal. So I also would give those stamps 5 out of 5 stars. They're amazing, and the stamp pad itself isn't anything special. It's just like a random black stamp pad from like Michael's. But I definitely am interested in trying more stamps in my bullet journal in the future, and if you have not tried them yet, I 100% recommend. If you've been in the bullet journaling niche for a while, you probably know that alcohol markers are usually never used in a bullet journal because bullet journal paper is 160 GSM, usually, at least the journals that I have from Archer and Olive. But for example, watercolor paper is 300 GSM, so it's a little thicker. And when you use alcohol markers, it bleeds through watercolor paper. So if you're using it in a bullet journal, the markers would definitely bleed through all of the pages and make it really hard to use them. However, I have said this on my channel before, I am a hardcore believer in using alcohol markers in your bullet journal. I have an entire video on this, so I'll link in the description box below, but basically I love alcohol markers. I think they're really fun to use. It's a very different medium than water-based markers, but I love the way that they layer on top of each other, and I love just the bright, saturated, bold pigment that it has. But I do understand that whenever you turn over the page, it is going to bleed through and ruin those spreads on the back. Like here, as I'm showing you, I had a page on the back of this spread that I'm using, and you can definitely see the color bleeding and ghosting through. However, a method that I have used to combat this is using alcohol markers on sticker paper, cutting out your little design and sticking it into your bullet journal. If you watched my March 2023 plan with me, you know that this is a technique that I used, and I really enjoyed messing with alcohol markers, but also mixing it with my bullet journaling spreads and find different ways to incorporate this new medium because it's not something you typically see in a bujo. But I definitely encourage you to try this technique out just to see if you like it, because there definitely is a lot of distinction between alcohol markers and water-based, and I think it's kind of fun to play with something different sometimes. So although alcohol markers kind of take an extra step to put into your bullet journal, I do recommend them, and so I give them a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I was introduced to clear washi tape when I did a collaboration with the washi tape shop, and honestly I have not looked back. I love these washi tapes. So I'm going to show you a little variety here. A couple are from Notebook Therapy, a couple are from Washi Tape Shop. I think I have some others in my collection down here too, but basically I just love the idea of clear washi tape. Sometimes personally it's kind of hard to choose washi tapes to put in each spread, especially when the spread is very light colored and like dainty and subtle. I don't really want to add just like strips of hard color in the corners. However, using these clear washi tapes, it makes it a lot easier to blend from the white paper into a washi tape section because only parts of the washi is colored, if that makes sense. You'll see as I laid out on the paper, I think that not only are these especially beautiful designs and flowers that would be really hard for me to create myself, so it's easy just to use a washi tape, I think that they're great to use when merging from a solid washi to the actual white paper, and also just little details that you can add into the corners of your pages. Even if you wanted to like cut out a design, like I know a lot of these have like florals on them, so if you want to cut out one of the flowers and add it in as like a sticker, that makes it an even more versatile stationery to have in your toolbox, and I think they're just super pretty. And it's a new trend in the bullet journaling world because I literally have never heard of them before like this past year, and now like I've had 2 or 3 companies send me them. So super excited to be using these in my spreads more often, and I definitely think you guys should try it out because it's something new that we don't really see very often, but I think it does look really pretty in a journal. So as a whole, I think I'll give clear washi tapes 4.5 out of 5 stars. Like I said at the beginning of this video, if you're interested in trying out any of the stationery I mentioned, all links will be in the description box below. And again, don't forget to check out MeiLang's watercolor with the information down in the description box below. Use my discount and grab some watercolor for yourself because I love the set and I'm so excited to use it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. As always, subscribe below because I post bullet journal and productivity content every week and you don't want to miss when I upload next. If you haven't seen my last video, I did a lot of goal setting and planning for April, so that video will be right here on the screen. Go check it out, and I'll see you besties next week. Toodles!